Hi, it's Mike Chen. The Santa Lucia Mountains, or the Santa Lucia Range, is a rugged mountain range located in the coastal area of Central California. The Santa Lucia Range are the coast north of Ragged Point, forming a 100-kilometer wall of wave-dashed cliffs known as the Big Sur, to which the Pacific Coast Highway clings. It is a land of immense beauty and tranquility, where California condors fly high above its mountains and sea otters and elephant seals populate the turbulent waters at their base. But lurking within these mountains are the strange and mystifying phantoms that stand motionless in long black cloaks, surveying the crags and peaks of the mountains of Santa Lucia. These unfathomable creatures have been spotted by travelers looking out to the sea after wearing broad-brimmed hats and sometimes carrying either a staff or a walking stick. But what is consistent in the description of those who have seen them is that they are always still, silent, and featureless. Those who try to get a good look at these fantastical beings fail because by the time that they attempt a second glance, they have already vanished. So what are these Dark Watchers? These mystical entities are believed to reside in the misty hillside of Big Sur in the Santa Lucia Mountains. Spanish explorers and Mexican ranchers that came after referred to these creatures as Los Vigilantes Oscuros. In modern times, they came to be known as the Dark Watchers. The Dark Watchers are a group of migratory entities that have appeared in California folklore for supposedly the past several hundred years and are purportedly stalking travelers along the Santa Lucia Mountains. They are apparently giant human-like phantoms that are only seen at twilight, and they are usually spotted standing silhouetted against the night sky along the ridges and peaks of the mountains. These beings are believed to possess incredible hearing as well as impeccable eyesight. They are also immune to high-tech detection and prefer to only reveal themselves to travelers or trekkers who are equipped with simple items like hats and sticks. Tales about the Dark Watchers appear in many books, and many personal accounts of encounters with them can also be found online. A brief description of the Dark Watchers can be read in many books about California's famous supernatural stories, but these descriptions always refer to the writings of Pulitzer Prize winner John Steinbeck and poet Robinson Jeffers as literary sources that mention this phenomenon. In 1938, John Steinbeck was living near Monterey at the northern end of the Santa Lucia Mountains when he published his book of short stories titled The Long Valley. One of the stories included in the book is a short story, Flight, which most famously mentions the Dark Watchers specifically. The Dark Watchers must have had some notoriety in the area at the time because poet Robinson Jeffers, who also lived in Big Sur, published the poem Such Counsels You Gave to Me in 1937. In his poem, Jeffers described the Dark Watchers as forms that look human but certainly are not human. Steinbeck and Jeffers, writing around the same time in the same region and drawing inspiration from the same local traditions, imply that maybe some form of Dark Watchers lore predated both of their literary creations, but what was it? Original accounts of the Dark Watchers date all the way back to the Chumash, a Native American tribe which has lived along the central coast of California and among the Channel Islands for around 13,000 years. The Chumash natives have included stories of the Dark Watchers in their oral legends and traditions since the pre-Columbian era. So does this legend have any truth to it? One of the most detailed and authoritative accounts of Chumash beliefs is arguably the 1974 1,200-page doctoral dissertation by Thomas Blackburn, which was later on published as December's Child, a book of Chumash oral narratives. Blackburn's principal source in writing his dissertation about Chumash beliefs was the massive archive collected by American linguist and ethnologist John Peabody Harrington between 1912 and 1928, including 111 oral narratives of the Chumash native tribe. Harrington's body of unpublished research were housed at the Smithsonian's National Anthropological Archives, and Blackburn went through it all, compiling virtually all there is to know about the Chumash beliefs. With an expert having researched extensively on the subject matter, we are now left with a very important question. Did the Chumash really tell stories about the Dark Watchers? If we're going to base our answers to this question on Blackburn's work about the Chumash beliefs, then we can conclude that there were no creatures anything like the Dark Watchers in the oral narratives of this Native American tribe. The closest thing that can be connected to these Watchers was a creature called Nunasis. The Chumash believed that the Earth as we know it is the middle world, which is an island surrounded by the ocean. The sun and other celestial bodies are part of the upper world, and down below is a lower world. Among the dwellers of this lower world are the Nunasis, which are monstrous and misshapen animals who come up to the middle world at night and spread bad luck, illness, and other negative things. These creatures can also be shaped like humans, but they are neither dark nor cloaked. They are also not not known for standing still against the night sky along mountain peaks staring into the ocean. The Chumash also believed in shape-shifting animals and humans, which is a belief widely held by many Native American cultures. However, so far claiming that the Dark Watchers can actually be linked with any Chumash tradition cannot be done without casting doubt on its validity. Hence, it is also just as likely, if not more so, that the supposed connection of the Dark Watchers with Chumash oral stories could be just an invention of the 20th century ghost story authors. After all, what better way to lend credibility to an urban legend than to tie it to an ancient culture? But regardless if you believe the Dark Watchers actually exist or you think there's some logical explanations for all this, we can safely conclude that no one knows for sure who or what these Dark Watchers are, where they come from, or where they go when they disappear. Maybe these creatures are nothing more than fictional legends. Maybe it's just our imagination when it gets dark. Or maybe Dracula moved his whole family to California. But let me know what you guys think. Do you believe that the Dark Watchers really exist? Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.